You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois, and thank you for listening to our program here this morning on this Monday morning of, what is today, the 21st of March. And actually, we are taping this program today because of some scheduling conflicts we have. We have to be down in Springfield and do some other meetings next week. So we're taping it, and we are offering the Supreme Sacrifice. My first guest and myself would really like to go watch the Loyola Ramblers hopefully beat Ohio State. By the time this program airs, we'll know the outcome of that, but we're confident that Loyola will prevail. And we couldn't have the other director of the major scholarship granting organization on this morning because he, like myself, graduated from Marquette University, and neither of us fared very well with our basketball team yesterday, getting shellacked by the University of North Carolina. But so that's our NCAA update for all those people who really wanted to hear that. So let's go over the rundown this morning. We have with us, our first guest will be in a second, Anthony Holter. He is the president, I thought you were executive director, but president sounds important, of Empower Illinois, one of the major SGO, scholarship granting organizations in our state. He's going to talk to us about the scholarship tax credit program, about a report that came out recently on it, a favorable report. After that, we'll switch gears. We'll stay in the education subject matter. We're going to be talking to the superintendent of schools in the Rockford Diocese, just north and west here of Chicago. And his name is Vito DeFrancisco, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his trials and tribulations, and hopefully looking forward on the masking problems and challenges they've had, and what's they're looking forward to here in the upcoming couple weeks, months, hopefully forever, with regarding how they handled that situation. And then finally, we have a very interesting guest at the conclusion of our program. Her name is Megan Dugan-Adele. She is a fellow at a group called the New America Initiative, I believe it is. And there's a very interesting report that group has put out. It's something that the conference has been participating in, some advocacy efforts about what to do about predatory lending. People who take out loans who cannot necessarily afford them and find themselves in deep financial peril. There's been legislation passed, and Megan's group has put out a very interesting report about who has taken those loans in the past, and where they live, and how hopefully this will be a problem of the past and we can move forward without that product available to people. But anyway, we'll talk about some of the policy issues surrounding that. So that's an outline of our show here this morning. And so without further ado, let's bring in, if that's a word, without further delay, let's bring in Anthony Holter. He's the president of Empower Illinois. Anthony, you're with us. There he is.
I'm with you. Yeah, good morning. How are you this morning?
We're doing well. We're doing well here on a Friday morning, actually Monday morning. So, Anthony, tell us a little bit about things that Empower are chugging right along. It looks like, what are we, in year 4 or 5 of the longevity of this program? And you have put out a report recently about some of the updates on who's getting the scholarship and what they're doing. Tell us just a little bit about what's going on at Empower with regard to this. Is it the 4-year report? Is that what year we're in?
Thank you, Bob. Happy to do that. Yeah, so it's the year 4 report. We're kind of always looking in the rearview mirror when we're reporting on these things. So we completed year 4 at the end of 2021 and are now actually issuing scholarships for the 2022-2023 school year. So we've got the calendar year for the tax purposes, funding scholarships on a school year basis. The high-level takeaways from this report, thankfully, show all the same trend lines moving in the same direction, and that's more and more demand for scholarships. This past year in 2021, we had about 30,000 kids in line. That's kids raising their hands saying they would love a tax credit scholarship to attend their best fit school. And we're able to award almost 6,200 scholarships. So that's more scholarships than we've ever awarded in the past. But it still means at the same time, for every one scholarship that's issued, there are 5 kids in line who don't get one. So we've got more work to do there. On the donation side as well, we don't have the final numbers from IDOR just yet, but it's looking like it'll be a record year in 2021 with probably 76 to maybe $80 million in tax credit scholarships raised. That's up from $67.5 million the year before. So more dollars than ever raised, more scholarships than ever issued, but still not enough. Demand is incredible. And we know that, these numbers, behind every single number is a real family with a real student who wants a real opportunity at a great fit school.
Have you guys ever done the math in terms of if you waved a magic wand? I think you said there's 30,000 applicants waiting that couldn't get it. Yep. There's 6,000 that did. And that ratio, it's funny, that 4-to-1, 5-to-0 ratio is pretty much consistent. We've been meeting with legislators, and I'd say in almost every district, it pretty much breaks that down that way. Although there was one the other day, 42% of the scholarships were awarded. It was kind of an aberration, but most of them were in that, that range. I'm just wondering, like, if you could wave a magic wand, and I don't know if you guys have done this, but is there a dollar figure that you have out there that would meet all the demand for, like you said, there's 30,000. So like, what would it take? Is it, because the program's capped at 100 million, I think that's what the state law says. And obviously it'd be more than that, but are we in the millions, or are we close, or like, what would the cap have to be to meet the demand?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bob. We need just over $196 million to meet the demand. Okay. That's just through Empower Illinois. As you mentioned earlier, right? Certainly Big Shoulders Fund is another leading scholarship granting organization in the state. There are a few others as well. But just for Empower Illinois, if we were to clear our wait list, it would take over $196 million. That would be almost a doubling of the current program cap.
I want to talk a little bit about donors, because we hear, our world is so Springfield centric, and so that's not representative of the general population, but we have to deal with lawmakers, and they ask very good questions about who's given, why they're given, that kind of thing. And the accusation has been made is that this is just a program for the wealthy to get a tax credit so they don't have to pay their taxes. But do you want to talk a little bit about who actually is donating and how much they're donating, and like who is the donor class in this case?
Yeah, certainly. And you're absolutely right. We get this question all the time, who's donating, kind of what's the profile. So a couple things I can speak specifically to Empower Illinois, our median donation. So that's the one that's right in the middle. Half the donations are more than this and half of them are less than this. The median donation is $3,000. Our most common donation is $1,000. So, these are not multi-millionaires making multi-million-dollar contributions, although we have some very generous individuals who are making significant donations. That is true. But the majority of our donations in terms of the number of people donating are in a much more modest range. And we believe that's really important, that every individual citizen who has tax liability, who cares about kids and education, has an opportunity to participate. And our numbers certainly bear that out, that we get a wide variety of individuals from all economic means contributing to this program.
Yeah, it's important, because the more donors you have, the more advocates you have to continue the program. It is a challenge. I mean, the whole scholarship tax credit dynamics of the way the program works is a challenge for a donor, because unfortunately, the way the program works is that in order to get the credit, you have to put the money forward in 1 year, then you get the credit the next year. The good news is those for us who filed our taxes now are anxiously waiting for that little notice from the IRS or the state saying that. And so that's a nice thing. It's a little painful when you have to write that check, but it does come back. And so you have to do it eventually. So it's one of the challenges of the program. Anthony, let's talk about that. This program has been around 4 years. It's doing well. It could be better. It could be a lot worse. Other states, I think this is common in every state. There's growing pains. You try something, you experiment with it. Some things work, some things don't. You go back to the legislature or the powers that be, and you try to fix them. What changes if you could wave a magic wand? What were the changes that you would make to the program to make it better for the donor and for the recipient?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, as you well know, Bob, there is no perfect law, and sometimes even the best designed policy, when it becomes implemented, you start to see things that that could improve it. Like you said, for kids and families, for donors, for schools, in this case, for all constituents. We're advancing a bill right now that's being led by Representative Curtis Tarver in the House and sponsored by Cunningham in the Senate, and many generous chief co-sponsors and co-sponsors that address some really important issues, one of them being super priority. That's what we call the feature of the law where if a student gets a scholarship one year, they are at the front of the line to get the scholarship the next year. You might ask, why is that important? Well, these programs are most effective when there can be some certainty of continuity for students. Imagine a student who switches from one school to attend a private school through a tax credit scholarship, but only knows on a year-to-year basis that scholarship might or might not be available. I know most schools, in fact, if not all schools that we work with, when they admit a student, whether it's a K-8 elementary school or a high school, they're making a commitment for that full education journey. And so we want, the scholarship support to match that commitment as much as we possibly can. So that, that's a big priority, and it's, receiving strong support from folks in the House. The bill passed the House 114-0, and now on to the Senate. So we're very hopeful there, certainly. But I would say the biggest, issue that we face is the uncertainty that comes with a program that has a built-in sunset.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate last legislative session to receive a one-year extension of the program. It was set to sunset December 31st of 2022. Thankfully, we have one more year. It might not seem like a lot, but as you know, that 1 year means a great deal. It means more kids, more scholarships, more dollars, more certainty. And that's critically important. It gives us another opportunity as well to meet with more lawmakers to let them know just how vitally important this program is.
We're talking with Anthony Holder. He's the president of Empower Illinois, talking about the scholarship tax credit. Let's take a quick break. I think he's coming back after the break. So he'll come back after the break. Let's jump off right now, and we'll come back after this message. Don't go away.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible, free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
We are at the Most Blessed Trinity Parish Food Pantry in Waukegan.
And here we care for people in need. There was definitely an uptick in the needs for services.
We doubled our volume after COVID hit, from servicing about 250 families a week to about 500 a week. We supply bread, tortillas, vegetables, milk, cheese, butter, proteins, fish, chicken, eggs.
Well, the annual Catholic Appeal has been a tremendous help to us, especially over the past year and a half.
Without the annual Catholic Appeal, we might have to close our doors. Our parish is the largest one in the Archdiocese, but is very poor. We think about food and we think about nourishment, but we also nourish the soul, provide that connection to humanity.
The good works here are made possible through the Annual Catholic Appeal. Make your gift at annualcatholicappeal.com.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois. We deal with public policy issues, mostly at the state capitol in Springfield. We also do some national things with USCCB. Legislature is in full swing right now. Today is March 21st. The program is out on March 21st, and we are very grateful that it appears we only have about 3 weeks left in this legislative session. It's been abbreviated a little bit because the Illinois primary is coming up, and in a future show we'll talk a little bit about issues that Catholics should look for and how to discern who to vote for and how to cast their ballot. But we have a primary coming up in June, June 28th, and then the general election will be in November. I think it's like November 8th. So a lot going on at the legislature. It looks like it's going to be, we hope, an easy landing this year, because one of the things that usually gets us hung up is the budget. But this year, because there is so much revenue coming into the state from not only from the federal sources, but also some of these increased taxes we're paying for gas and other things, that it looks like those hard decisions are not going to be as hard to make this year when you have money to spread around. So we're optimistic that the legislature will conclude in the next 3 weeks or so. And then, as Anthony was saying earlier, we'll be preparing in the off months to figure out how we can get this program renewed next year. Anthony, we're talking during the break, before the break, about the program and who gets the program and what scholarships are awarded and who donates and some of the challenges to the program. I'm just kind of curious if you have any anecdotes about, like, what do parents say about the program, about the scholarship? What do they find good, bad, or indifferent about it?
Yeah, I mean, we hear from parents all the time, and from schools as well. I would say first and foremost, what we hear is deep gratitude.
Yeah.
These are families who know that the schools are private school can be expensive, and sometimes that puts it out of reach for them. And this program is then the vehicle where for many of them, they're kind of the dreams for their children can come true, to attend their best fit school, whether that's a Catholic school or a Jewish school or an arts school or a Montessori school. We partner with all kinds of schools, and families, I would say, first and foremost, are deeply grateful. If they have questions or concerns, we hear this from families and donors alike. I would say, and I have shared this with some lawmakers as well, we hear two things from parents, two questions. The first one is, can this be real? Like,
Really?
Can this program really exist? Can this be real? And the second question is, how long will it last? And I would say, those are very, very real questions that the parents face and oftentimes fear, because they know the impact that these scholarships make, not just for their students, which is critically important, but for the whole family. I think, Bob, you and I were at the same event a couple years ago now. Our father got up to speak. It was in an upstairs gymnasium at a Catholic school in Chicago. And, he said he was so grateful to be a recipient of the scholarship for his two young girls. He said now, because he only has to work 2 jobs instead of 3, and can be the father that his girls deserve.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get goosebumps.
Me too.
Tears in my eyes.
I agree.
Just thinking about that.
Yep.
So these scholarships are good for kids. Absolutely. They are good for families. There's no doubt about that. And, what we want to do is make sure that it's around as long as it possibly can be, hopefully forever, to continue this positive impact for so many kids.
No, I agree with
throughout
you.
the state.
I agree with you. And when you see the tenacity of some of these parents and what they're willing to do to advocate for the program to continue, because they know the importance, as you indicated, what it means to them, and that gentleman that you're referencing, I tell that story all the time. It was very powerful, and the man spoke kind of broken English a little bit, but gosh, you could just feel the American story in his bones. I mean, it was just so heartwarming to see that, and that's what this program's about, trying to help individuals like him and his family, and when I know those kids, when they grow up, they're gonna move the ball further. I mean, they're gonna be contributing members of society, and that's what it's all about. If we can help that in any way, we should. We have a moral obligation to do that. I want to talk a little bit about now, maybe go kind of national. Illinois is really interesting. I mean, we are considered, not to get into the politics of it, we're considered a blue state. And it seems like most of the school choice programs are in quote unquote red states. So we're, in my opinion, we're a positive outlier. And I know a lot of people are looking at Illinois and scratching their heads like, how'd you guys do that? But talk a little bit about school choice nationally. I mean, if you were a stock picker, would you be buying it or selling it? Or do you think there's legs to this movement here, or are we peaked out, or what do you think's going on? Because I know you deal with it's not only Empower, you deal with a lot of these groups nationally. So what are they saying, and what do you think the prognosis is on school choice programs writ large?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would definitely say that there's very strong tailwinds for the school choice movement nationally. Last year, legislatively, was one of the most successful years for the passage of new or expansion of existing school or parental choice programs in the country. Many of those programs you'll see kind of taking the shape of what's called ESAs, or education savings accounts, kind of the maximum flexibility where dollars are awarded to families and they can use them for school tuition, certainly, but tutoring, after school programming, additional technology, counseling, therapy. It's kind of a wide array of the usage of those dollars. So all the programs look a little bit different in each state, but I would definitely say that the movement is growing, and there's strong support, not just in legislatures across the country, but you see increasing support from normal everyday citizens when asked their feelings about school choice, whether it be a tax credit scholarship program or an ESA. So again, I think strong tailwinds. I'm a buyer on this, and I'm also just perennially optimistic about creating options for parents, really with the belief that zip code or family income shouldn't be the determinants of the quality of a child's education or their educational options.
Yeah, I
and
think
just to be very clear there, Bobby, whether that's a great fit public school, a great fit public charter school, or a private school, we want all those options to be available.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you clarified that. You're right, and I think what my next comment was, or rhetorical question, is with the changing nature of education today, society's changing, and I think the whole COVID thing has rocked a lot of people's work, home balance, and you see a lot of different things now, and I think we're going to be working through that in the next couple of years or so. So my point is, when there's been so much disruption to the work and environment, albeit maybe you're at home more, or you're in the office or working remotely, whatever the thing is, I do think that has a ripple effect to the standard education that you and I grew up with and that exists today is sort of, it's traced back to the agrarian, quite frankly, early 1900s. And I think education's changing so much. And you use the word options. And I think that's what parents are, and that's what voters, that's what taxpayers are looking for. They're looking for more options, because that 9 to 5 or whatever it was, 9 to 3 school arrangement just is not applicable to as many people as it used to be. And programs like you're involved with and others as well. There's many other types. And you see some adjustments even in the public schools to accommodate this. But this is all changing. And I hope you're right that this fits into that tailwind of support for more school choice.
Yeah, Bob, I grew up in a small rural town in southern Minnesota, and there were neighborhood elementary schools, but then everybody went to one public middle school and then one public high school. I didn't have a choice. My parents didn't have a choice. But we got lucky because we lived in a great community that had strong support for high quality public schools. And so that lack of choice there was something that was not detrimental to me. In fact, I had a wonderful experience. And I think that kind of model is not the case for everyone anymore. And there are increased options. And if that model is available and it is a good fit, awesome. But if not, again, we would love for kids and families to be able to find that right fit. And I know there are so many quality options here throughout the state of Illinois. We partner with almost all of them. I think 95% of the private schools in the state we're very proud and honored to partner with in this program.
And it worked. I'm looking at your bio. You got a doctor of philosophy from Madison, so geez, must have worked. I can't even spell philosophy, so you did better than I did.
Yeah, I try to keep that under the radar. To expect too much out of me there. So.
Yeah, right. Well, we won't ask you about Kant or something. I can't think of philosopher off the top of my head. We'll save that for the next program. All right, Anthony. Thanks so much for taking some time. And you want to make a prediction on the Loyola game, whether they won or not?
Listen, I'm Sister Jean. How can you go wrong backing her, right? She's going to be there. 102. They got to do it for her.
Right. So. I'm with you. Right. I'm with you. All right. Hey, thanks for taking some time. We'll talk soon. Keep plugging away at House Bill 4126, and let's get that program renewed next year.
You got it, Bob. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Don't go away, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to jump off. We're going to jump right back on with Vito DeFrancisco. He is the superintendent of schools in the Rockford Diocese. We're going to talk a little bit about the mask issue and how they have hopefully conquered that and moved on. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
At Catholic Charities, we want to remind you that we are here for anyone who is a victim of domestic violence or anyone who has a concern about someone they think may be a victim. Domestic violence affects millions of people each year, both women and men, of every race, religion, culture, and economic status. It includes physical, psychological, and emotional abuse, inflicted in both subtle and overt ways. The impact on children can be devastating. If you or someone you know are victims of domestic violence and you are looking for a place for healing and recovery, call us at 773-935-3434 in Cook County and 224-430-4977 in Lake County. A safer, happier tomorrow can begin today.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois, and thank you so much for taking some time to listen to our program here this Monday morning. We're going to stay in the same genre here. We're going to stay in the education arena. On the phone, I believe, we have with us Vito De Francisco. He is the superintendent of schools in the Rockford Diocese. Vito, are you with us?
Yes, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well. We can see your nice, shining face, smiling face here on our little monitor. So thank you for taking some time this morning to talk with us.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
So how you doing out there? We wanted to talk a little bit about.
Well.
You're coming out.
We're
strong.
adjusting to this new reality of the mask mandate has been lifted, and I think we're all doing good.
Good. So what does it look going forward for the schools, the Catholic schools writ large? Do you think it sounds? Are the parents accepting of this, or how are people taking the new the new approach to learning here? I guess the new old approach.
The new old approach. Yeah, it's good to be back to that. To tell you the truth, but. As you know, and I'm sure many of your listeners know, we had parents on both sides of the fence, those that wanted masks, those that didn't. I think for the most part, everyone has adjusted quite well without the masks at this point. We did hear from a small number of parents when the mask mandate was lifted, asking, why did we lift it, and those types of questions. But making it optional frees us up to say, if you're more comfortable in a mask, please, we encourage you to do that. Most of our students and teachers at this point they're not wearing masks, and I think everyone is just delighted to be where we are at this point.
Yeah, sort of like back to normal, like you were saying. So,
right,
Vito, I know you're superintendent, and there's 5 other dioceses with superintendents that do exemplary work in the education field. But I think really probably the individuals most at the front lines that handled these issues with the school principals. Talk a little bit about the role of the school principal in this crazy change of rules and regulations, because they probably took a lot of the slings and arrows before they got to you, I would think.
They did. Boy, being a principal today is not an easy task, and certainly not under COVID protocols. But our principals all did a great job. They followed the protocols as they were prescribed. And I don't know if you know, but the Diocese of Rockford sits in 11 different counties.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I knew it was a lot. Right.
Yeah, so as a result of that, Rockford chose to follow the protocols identified by the CDC, ISB, and of course the Illinois Department of Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
But in certain circumstances, we found ourselves in a position where, based upon the positivity rate in the different areas, the 11 different areas, each health department might have had just a slightly different take on the protocols, or they might have had a little bit stricter protocols that they wanted us to put in place. So the phone calls that I received at the Catholic Ed office basically were calls for clarification on what our principals were already putting into place.
Got it.
All of us, each of the superintendents in the 6 dioceses across Illinois, we all talked at great lengths about, how we were going to do this, and, it was very helpful. We came up with our reopening plan, like each of us, and we moved forward, and our principals, they were on the front lines of this, and I think they did a great job.
We were, my previous guest was Anthony Holder with Empower, and we were talking about school choice options and, more of a political context. But my sense is that the whole COVID experience, and it was very difficult for many. We had some schools did not operate in person. Some were at the same time they were offering remote. But the Catholic schools, by and large, made it through. They did close for periods of time, some more frequent than others. But by and large, I think you could say as a generalization, they were open more frequently than the public schools. Is this helped the perception of Catholic education? Do you think more people are looking at Catholic schools now after the whole experience with COVID as opposed to the way it was before?
I do believe that. It seems to me that parents were very impressed. At least the parents that I spoke to were very impressed that we managed to remain open, or for the most part. We had just very few schools that may have had outbreaks, except for the beginning, of course, when we were all shut.
Was closed. Right.
When we were all on e-learning. But throughout the pandemic, our goal was to remain open, and we did. And parents appreciated that. They really, and they made that known to us, that we were open and we were running, and things were, we tried to keep things as whatever that normal is. We tried to keep it as normal as possible.
So the schools themselves now, I know some of them put up like, oh gosh, I'm so bad with these things. Not polyester.
The shields
and all that. Yeah, plexiglass and things like that, and they were spaced and things like that. Are the schools still doing that, or is it the option of the school, or the teacher, or the class, or how is that all? How is that working? Is it on a case-by-case basis?
It's pretty much on a case-by-case basis. But what we've recommended to our principals is to try to follow those protocols as much as possible.
Yep.
In terms of social distancing, and the plexiglass, and things of that nature. Most of our schools, I believe, from what I know, it appears as though the plexiglass partitions have been removed. Social distancing is still part of their daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, people are happier now because it just seems to be a little bit less strict in comparison to what it was.
Vito, I can only speak from my personal experience. I have a young son he's going to be 7, and for him, like, wearing a mask was no big deal. He didn't care. It just kind of, he doesn't really, some kids don't know it. The younger kids didn't really, I don't think, know any different. My sense is, though, I talk to friends with older kids, and I think that and not the mask per se, but the whole daunting aura, the negativity, the scare around what COVID is and is not, and the unknown, and constant being around it. I think it's. Do you think it's had some effect on children? Like, maybe I'm gonna guess here, like 5th, 6th grade, that area, that age of child. It seems like they took a brunt of this that maybe some younger kids or older kids were able to handle it didn't. Yeah,
the junior high age children, students did take a hit on this, I believe. Discipline, of course, our discipline issues aren't severe by any means in our Catholic schools, but they are students. They're children like children in any other school. But what we have found is that there is a heightened awareness of, well, what is required of me. Even at that age, children are asking, well, what is exactly required? Okay, what does the law say about this? Something that we didn't hear before.
Right.
And perhaps that comes from the home. I don't know. Sometimes there are adult conversations that take place with children that perhaps filter over into the classroom.
I think you're right about that. That's a very good point. I think younger children are maybe a little bit more in tune to what do I need to do and what I don't need to do. Yeah, I see that. That's interesting you say that, as opposed to if this had never happened at all. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so we're optimists. I suppose you have contingency plans. If this happens again, you're probably ready to go. You probably want to keep that in the closet, though. If hopefully you don't need it, you can just put it away. But I got a feeling it's probably this place where it is.
Oh, yeah. We have a plan laid out should we need it. We hope we don't need it. We hope things continue to remain positive and we can continue to go forward, without those mitigations. But in my last letter to our school parents, I did make it very clear that we will continue to follow the law, and that if necessary, if COVID were to resurface, and we would then review all of the mitigations if there were any, and the possibility of having to go back to masks is something that we have to be at least aware of.
I'm with you. Aware of it. Let's hope we never have to do that again. Yeah,
correct.
Let's hope for that. Hey, Vito, thanks for taking some time to join us this morning and to provide some insights into what that experience was like over the past 2 years. And so, like we were saying, let's hope we're moving on and
you bet.
Go back to normal as much as can. Thank you so much for taking some time, Vito. God bless, and great work in that very difficult time.
Thank you so much, and same to you.
Great. Don't go away, everybody. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back. I'm going to talk to Megan Dugan-Adele. We're not going to be talking about education. We're going to be talking about the predatory lending issue and a very interesting report that her organization has come out with. It's called Ill-Gotten Gains. Megan will be here to talk to us in a minute. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Catholic Charities Veterans Employment Services help veterans find and maintain employment through job readiness training, resume writing assistance, mock interviews, and job placement counseling. We work with a wide array of employers and community partners to help veterans reach their career goals. We owe a debt of gratitude to all of our veterans for the sacrifices they made to serve our nation. It is our privilege now to assist them. To learn more about Catholic Charities Veterans Employment Program in Cook County, call 773-808-2954. In Lake County, call 847-782-4219. You can also learn more at CatholicCharities.net. To all United States veterans, thank you for your service.
Welcome back.
Es fabuloso verlos.
Dobrze jest znowu być razem.
It's good to be together again.
After so many months apart, pandemic capacity limits have been lifted, and we want to welcome everyone back to church. We can all pray together again. And listen as our choirs lift their voices in song.
We've been together in spirit.
And now, when you are ready, our doors are open wide.
Nuestras puertas están abiertas de par en par.
Nasze drzwi są otwarte.
And we're here to welcome you back to Catholic Mass.
We are hiring. Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago is looking for mission-driven individuals who want to help make a positive difference in the lives of people in need throughout Cook and Lake counties. Be part of a diverse, talented team of professionals in the largest human services organization in the Midwest. We are dedicated to helping people chart a more stable, happier future for themselves, and we accompany anyone in need, regardless of faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. Competitive salaries and generous benefits add to the satisfaction you'll have every day, knowing that you're helping us amplify our impact in Chicago. To see our list of employment opportunities, visit CatholicCharities.net.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference of Illinois, and thank you for listening to our program here on this Monday morning. Talking now, we're going to switch gears away from education. Very interesting topic on the agenda here. We're going to be talking with Megan Dugan Adele. I'll get that straight. You haven't not awake yet. She is she's a Chicago fellow at the New America, and there she is. Megan, how are you? It's good to see you. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling.
I'm doing great. How are you, Bob?
I'm doing well. So Megan and I we only meet virtually. We've never actually met in person, I don't think, but we do a lot of virtual stuff here.
I think a long time ago.
Okay, that counts.
I think we met a long time ago.
All right, I think you're right now that you say that. So we'll see this virtual thing. It seems like forever. Megan, let's get right into the report that your organization and you produced. It's called Ill-Gotten Gains. Ill-Gotten Gains, G-A-I-N-S. And it's about the whole issue of predatory lending. And I think people are aware of this, but I don't think they are. So let's make them more aware as best we can. Let's take a step back before we talk about the report. We'll delve into that. But so the issue of what a payday loan is or predatory lending is, let's start with what is that and why is that a problem?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. Thanks for asking. So we wrote this report because there have been in Illinois for years a number of different types of loans that are considered predatory loans, and this has been since the 1980s when the door was open to them. They were legalized. So they're loans that basically have somewhat shady practices, extremely high interest rates, possibly like really high fines or fees if people miss a payment or have any kind of issue in their payment. They're really designed often dishonestly to take advantage of people so that, if someone, let's say, is like a day late with their payment, they would have an incredibly hard time paying it back to make more money for the company. So there's a number of different types of loans that fall into this category. They include payday, which is probably what people are most familiar with. They include title loans, which use someone's car title as collateral. They also include short-term short-term installment loans. And then there's a few other loans that fall into that category. Pawn loans actually would also fall in that category.
And thanks to Megan's efforts and many other organizations, Woodstock Institute in particular, have been working on this for a while. And a law was passed, and we should say happy birthday, because I think the 1-year anniversary of the law is next week, the 23rd, I think, right? March 23rd. And so correct. Illinois listened to the advocates and addressed this problem as prudently as it could last year. And so in essence, what Illinois law says in layman's terms is that those entities Megan cited can only charge basically like up to 36% interest in order to pay back. And I don't know about you or anybody listening to this, when I talk about this to friends of mine, they're like, 36%. They're shocked that somebody could charge that. It used to be you could charge a lot more than that. So I guess we've made progress, but I mean, that's kind of where we are today in the law, which is better than we were last year.
Yeah, absolutely. We did see that. I mean, there were, for some types of loans, people could charge as much as 404%.
Yeah,
previously.
That's insanity.
And some of the loans, the average, so for payday loans and installment payday, I think one of them, the average was 233%, and the other the average was 299%.
Yeah, and anybody that can add at even the most basic level can determine that that's very difficult to pay back. I don't care who you are. So let's talk about the report. It's called Ill-Gotten Gains, and we tweeted this out the other day. I'd really recommend people take a glance at it or get it out there to other folks that might be interested. Tell us a little bit about the report, what led to the report, and really the meat of it, which is where these loans were taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ended up doing this report with Woodstock Institute and with Chicago Urban League. And we initially started a coalition with those groups because of just how incredibly high these loans were and how much money they were stripping out of communities. We had a lot of interest, particularly from some different funders around Chicago in really understanding how that was really impacting poor areas, and in particular some of the funders were interested in how that was affecting the Black and Latinx wealth gap, and so how that over time had impacted families. And so we looked at that. We started this process before the bill, and so we actually were amazed and surprised at how quickly the bill passed. It passed, I guess people have been working on it for a long time. Woodstock had been working on it for a long time, so there was a lot of work behind it, but it actually passed before we even got to put out the report. And so I think the report just looks to help people understand why we passed the bill and also what's next. So we know that these loans existed for a reason and people use them for a reason.
Right.
And so making sure that people have other alternatives that are lower cost and less exorbitant.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that, because I think that's a very good point. It's a very valid point. The fact of the matter is that people in low-income situations who, in any situation for that matter, oftentimes they need access to credit. And if they can't get it, they can turn to things that could be potentially dangerous. So what we want to do is keep that market available to people, but not gouge them for taking out a loan and being simply unable to pay it back. But I do think that's a good point. It's like we do need that credit market to stay viable at some level. And, it could be true that maybe some of those individuals are higher credit risks, but we also that doesn't mean they shouldn't have access to capital either. So how do we do that? I mean, that's kind of where we're at now, I think. That's what we're looking at going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we do expect that. We've seen challenges to the law. We've seen recently there's been a lawsuit in California by one of these providers, and California has for a similar cap. So we do expect that there will continue to be challenges to the law because this was a really lucrative business. I mean, people made money, incredible amounts of money off of low-income communities with these types of loans. But I think what we're trying to do next is both protect the law and make sure that it keeps its integrity and that it's continuing to protect consumers with the 36% cap. But we also want to make sure that people have all their alternatives. So one of the things that we have done, and I should have mentioned this earlier, our coalition has a website called weprosperil.org. And people can go there, and it has a lot of information about other alternatives. We wanted to make sure the community knew that there were alternatives. They didn't have to get stuck in one of these loans. And now that they're illegal to charge that much interest, people should still be able to, if they really want to get one of these types of loans, they can get it at a lower interest rate now. But there are also other alternatives. So we have a resource guide on our website that includes different ways that people can, lower their bills. So different ways, like if they have different debts and different things, help them figure out how to do that. Find one-time income sources. And then we have a whole section that, if people have no other choice and have to take out money, that they have an option. They have different options that are lower cost. And so we have options from some of our different partners, including Bank on Chicago. Some of the banks involved there have different alternatives, and some of the credit unions. We also have one alternative in Chicago specifically that's also in other parts of the country, Capital Good. And then there's actually quite a few other sources that are under the 36% rate cap, and different types of loans. So everything from business loans to personal loans and other types of loans. Me personally, as a devout Christian, this is a really important issue to me. I think it's really integral to our faith that, one, we treat others as we want to be treated, but also we're not taking advantage of the poor, and that we're not, just, I mean, I think these types of loans, one of the really scary things, when the interest rate was higher, the interest rates were higher, were that, yes, people might be a higher credit risk, but it's actually they were pushing them deeper into poverty and also making it so impossible for them to pay them
They'll
back.
never get out. Right.
So just a total catch-22 for people who maybe feel like they didn't have another option, and really taking advantage of people who maybe are in a situation where they're just not earning quite enough money. So maybe their bills don't quite come at the same time as their check, or they find themselves in a cash emergency where they have a house repair or a car repair they can't afford.
And they could be desperate.
Taking advantage of people in those situations. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's really ugly.
So people aren't thinking clearly when they're under the gun. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. No, the moral imperative here is clear. I don't know how people could live with themselves for charging that percentage of interest rate to another individual. As I said, sometimes people are desperate. They're not thinking clearly. They're panicking. They don't understand. And that's the other thing about this. I think a large component of what we're talking about here is, I mean, you and I are lucky. We understand basic finances and math and education and credit. There's a lot of people out there that don't understand that, and they get themselves over their head before they know it's too late. And I think education about money and credit and what it means and interest rates is so important, and we kind of gloss over that sometimes. But I do think we need to do a better job of educating people that may not be that sophisticated, or maybe English is their second language, or they don't really, they're living paycheck to paycheck. So I think that's another big component about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I think education is important. I think that's absolutely important. I think also recognizing that sometimes people are just, in a bad situation and they don't know where else to turn. They may not have as many resources as you or I have. And that's what we heard in a lot of interviews, that people were like, I didn't want to take this loan, but I didn't know what else to do.
Right. Or
in other cases, people just every single month, even they're working a few jobs, but it just doesn't quite cover. I mean, living in Chicago can be expensive in many parts of our country. And so, they just couldn't quite make ends meet. And so they just didn't know where else to turn. And in some cases, people were just embarrassed. Like they didn't want to ask their family for help, whatever it was. So it's really complex issue, but I think we can all agree that 36% interest should be plenty to make money on.
Right. So let's go over that one more time. The report is called Ill-Gotten Gains, and it's out there. It's under your organization's group, your organization, New America, and I know of some other groups. We tweeted out the other day. I think it's very important to look at that report in terms of you can find out the what was wreaking havoc in certain communities. But I think more importantly is what you're suggesting is we also should promote the WeProsperIllinois.org website, because that is where people can go for further information. That's the pitch, right?
Absolutely.
It's at WeProsperIllinois.org.
Yeah, WeProsperIL.org.
I'm sorry.
You can get there by typing in Illinois as well. Yeah.
I told you it was those days. I don't know what it is. Maybe I was up too late. I was up too late last night watching basketball games. So it's www.
Oh, those were good games.
Yeah, not if you're a Marquette grad. That's a whole other topic. It's www.weprosperil.org. And the name of the report is called Ill-Gotten Gains. And it's put out by New America, right? By your organization?
Yeah, it's the joint. It's on the New America website, but it's put out by our coalition, We Prosper.
Great.
Which includes Woodstock and.
Great. Megan, thanks so much for taking some time to join us this morning. Very informative. We'll get this out there as best we can. We continue to do that, and we should celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Predatory Lending Act. So that's some good news. We'll close on an upbeat note. Megan,
absolutely.
Thanks so much for taking some time. Great. God bless. Bye. Thanks for listening, everybody. It's Bob Gilligan of the Catholic Conference. Our hour flew by, as usual. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on the third Monday of the month of, what were we in? April? Wow. Next month is April. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good week.